Cold take. I think Celeste is one of the best indie games of all time. Now, for a bit of a hotter take, I think Celeste is by far the best game of 2018. Better than Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War 2018, and Smash Bros. Ultimate. Since the first moment I picked up this game, I fell in love with it. Besides being one of the most fun platformers I've ever played, with excellent mechanics and great level design, what makes this game a true GOAT is how its narrative elements are expertly interwoven with the gameplay. Madeline's struggles with her mental health are literally reflected back to her as she journeys up the mountain. All of Madeline's doubts and pessimism manifest and take form in a dark version of herself who wants to tear us down. Throughout the game, you're in a constant battle with yourself, and it's amazing how the game accurately portrays the up and down roller coaster of internal struggle. This is why Celeste is beautiful. As Madeline pulls up to the mountain, she talks to herself. This is it, Madeline. Just breathe. Why are you so nervous? This piano music in the introduction section is beautiful. It's very light and easy, very calming, as Madeline makes simple jumps and climbs up. She meets the grandma who lives here and asks if this is the mountain trail. The grandma says yes, and then Madeline warns her about her driveway, saying the ridge collapsed and almost killed her. The grandma laughs and tells her that if the driveway almost killed her, the mountain might be too much of a challenge for you. Madeline gets really agitated at this remark, but as we progress through the game, it's easy to understand why. Madeline is full of self-doubt about whether she is capable of climbing this mountain. She's lacking confidence in herself, yet desperately wants to climb the mountain. That's why the grandma's remarks are really agitating. She's already doubting herself, and having another person doubt your capabilities when you're already feeling down on yourself is a terrible feeling. As Madeline crosses the bridge, it begins to collapse and the music intensifies. When it seems that Madeline's journey might have been cut short, a blue bird swoops in and tells us how to dash, saving Madeline. Thank you, Bluebird. I love you. Having survived this scary experience, Madeline talks to herself again, trying to hype herself up. You can do this, which can also be interpreted as the game encouraging the player for the journey ahead. Chapter 1, The Forsaken City, serves as a tutorial to get the player accustomed to Madeline's movement. There are walls that can only be reached by jumping and then dashing towards them to climb them. You also get these weird platforms that move quickly when you land on them, which gives Madeline a ton of momentum when she jumps off them. Some strawberries are just out of the way and require some extra effort to grab. Strawberries with wings will fly away if you dash, so the challenge becomes how to reach them without dashing. Many times strawberries are placed in areas that you never even have to visit, and are there for players who want to thoroughly explore the levels and take on more challenges. You'll also find the green gems in the city, which give you an extra dash if you've already spent it. By this point, it should be clear how important the dash is to making this game as great as it is. The dash is what makes the levels work. Without it, Celeste would not be as great or as fun as it is. If you go slightly out of your way, you'll come across a small campsite and meet Theo, a very friendly man who is looking to hike up the mountain. They share a pleasant conversation, talking about the mountain and its strangeness. Theo comments that it's a good space for some quiet self-reflection. The gentle guitars strumming in the background, combined with the campfire, just makes this place feel warm and comfy, despite the snowy mountains surrounding us. Theo is extremely likable on first impression, and it's important for us to like Theo, because there's a lot of optional dialogue we can engage with that really enriches the themes the game is exploring. At the end of Forsaken City, there's a memorial site that reads, "This memorial dedicated to those who perished on the climb." On the first playthrough, this memorial seems to serve as a warning to the player Madeline, showing us that the journey ahead will be difficult and dangerous. But taken with the context of climbing the mountain being a metaphor for overcoming mental health issues and any of our personal demons, this memorial seems like a genuine, heartfelt way to remember those with mental health struggles who decided they couldn't live with it any longer. Madeline falls asleep next to the memorial, and we can begin chapter 2. Madeline wakes up in her dreams. Outside of the music, the mountain is quiet. You can hear every step Madeline takes, walking across stone and glass-like platforms. The stars in the background fall down endlessly. She comes across a mirror, and in the reflection is a dark copy of herself, with red eyes and purple hair. This reflection then breaks out of the mirror and runs off. The glass-like platforms become permeable, allowing Madeline to quickly travel through them and shoot out the other side. The sounds are really satisfying. When Madeline reaches the reflection calls herself a part of you. She belittles Madeline, telling her that she's not a mountain climber and that she can't handle the climb. Madeline remains unshaken, saying that this is why she needs to climb the mountain. A fun chase sequence ensues where Madeline runs away from her reflection. At some point, the reflection gives up and Madeline finds a payphone. It rings and she picks up. It's not exactly clear who's on the other side of the phone, but it's implied that this is someone Madeline was really close with in the past, most likely an ex-partner. As Madeline explains her situation, she realizes that she is dreaming, and the mysterious person replies, "Of course you're dreaming. I haven't spoken to you in months. Why would I start now?" Madeline angrily asks aloud why she's even climbing the mountain. Her reflection appears from thin air, saying it's time to give up and go home. The payphone turns into a monster that eats her, and then she wakes up. Again, this entire dream sequence reiterates Madeline's self-doubt. The words her reflection uses are the textbook definition of a fixed mindset. You are not a mountain climber, therefore you can't climb this mountain. A more confident Madeline with a growth mindset would instead tell herself that even though she's not a mountain climber, she can learn to climb mountains. Madeline runs into Theo again, who shows her the picture he's taken of the ruins in the mountain. They take a selfie together, and if he wants to keep the conversation going, Madeline asks Theo what made him get into photography, and he says it was his grandpa who got him into it, and taking pictures makes him feel close to him. One thing I love about the dialogue in Celeste is that the characters don't just blabber on endlessly and drop their entire life stories on the first time you meet them. They ask each other questions, make comments on what they've been told. Characters slowly open up to one another, revealing more of themselves through multiple conversations. It just feels so human and real. Not like this fake-ass Metal Gear shit. After this conversation, I took a moment just to enjoy the beautiful starry night sky and the music. Madeline leaves behind the campsite and finds a payphone. She calls her mom, who asks how the trip is going, to which Madeline responds she's feeling overwhelmed. Her mom asks if she's having a panic attack and tells her to focus on her breathing. This reveals one of the struggles Madeline faces in her life: anxiety. Madeline comes across a hotel where she finds the ghost of Mr. Oshiro, the owner of the hotel. He offers Madeline to stay at the hotel, but she's not interested in staying and wants to get back on the trail to hike up the mountain. What quickly becomes apparent is that Mr. Oshiro is a very anxious fellow, and because of this, he's a desperate people pleaser. His thoughts always send him to a place of panic about losing a customer, or that Madeline doesn't like the hotel. Every comment from Madeline sends him spiraling into an anxious line of thinking. The state of the hotel reflects Mr. Oshiro's state of mind, as books clutter the path forward and dark gloom infests the halls. She decides to help him clean up the mess, even though he's kind of a dick towards her. Hidden in one of the rooms is an 8-bit version of Celeste, which was actually created in 2015. This game is sort of like the initial birth of Celeste before they actually started working on the game. I think it's really cool that they snuck it in here. It's really challenging but also really short, and it's fun to see where ideas of gameplay mechanics emerge from, such as the balloons giving the player an extra dash rather than a green gem. Inside the hotel, we come across Theo, who is set on escaping the hotel through the vents. He tells us we should leave, but Madeline insists that Mr. Oshiro is harmless and that he just needs help. Later on, she runs into Theo again and still doesn't want to escape because she's scared it might cause Mr. Oshiro to have a meltdown, and she feels like this is her chance to finally do something good for once. When she catches up to Mr. Oshiro, she finds him pacing back and forth, consumed by his anxious thoughts. He becomes so overwhelmed by them that they manifest and expel from his body in the form of the black gloom we've been avoiding all throughout the hotel. We find another way around to him, and he shows us the presidential suite, anxiously awaiting to hear our thoughts on it. Madeline compliments it, saying she can tell he put a lot of effort into it. She then asks if she can get onto the roof from here, to which he offers her a discount to stay. Madeline doesn't want to stay, and Oshiro begs her to stay. Then her reflection breaks out of the mirror and insults him in his hotel, saying no one would want to stay here. Mr. Oshiro plays these insults over and over again in his head, allowing the anxious thoughts to consume him once again. He asks why Madeline was so nice to him just for her to leave. Her reflection says that she only helps people to feed her twisted ego, and that they're both pathetic. After this, Mr. Oshiro crashes out and starts chasing Madeline. He corners her on the roof before slamming down into it, causing it to break, and both of them fall down. Mr. Oshiro then retreats back to the hotel to make repairs, leaving Madeline alone and frightened. I think the reason why Madeline sticks around for so long is because she sees herself in Mr. Oshiro. She sees how his anxious thoughts send him spiraling, how they make his mind cluttered, and so she relates to him on some level. And in some sense, I think her reflection was kind of right when she said Madeline only helps to feed her twisted ego. When talking to Theo, she mentions she's helping Mr. Oshiro because she doesn't want him to have a meltdown, but also because she feels like this is finally her chance to do something right. So in some sense, she's helping Mr. Oshiro out of desire to feel good about herself. It's important to note that Madeline's reflection, her other part, does not necessarily represent Madeline's true nature or desire. Rather, she simply represents just another side of Madeline, another part of her. I think it's possible that Madeline helps Mr. Oshiro both because she believes it's the right thing to do and because she relates to him, but also because she needs to feed her ego and feel good about herself. Chapter 4 is one of my favorite chapters due in large part to its beautiful visuals. That background was fucking delicious, and I love how the colors blend in, seep into one another to show the transition of the sky during sunrise. The game introduces the clouds, which gives us a very high jump every time it jumps appropriately, and these blue bubbles that basically function as a fixed dash point. Madeline comes across a grandma who was glad to see us in one piece. She asked if we met Mr. Oshiro, and says he's a lost soul. Madeline says she thinks the mountain made both of them crazy, to which the grandma replies that the way she sees it, the mountain can't bring out anything that isn't already in you. Madeline tells her that she really wants to help Mr. Oshiro, to which the grandma responds that Mr. Oshiro needs to move on from the hotel, but it's not going to happen on her schedule. This highlights an important aspect of mental health struggles. People can try to help those suffering from depression, anxiety, addiction, etc. And it's good to offer support to people struggling, but at the end of the day, people can only overcome their internal struggle when they decide to help themselves. Mr. Oshiro has not even taken a look at himself in the mirror. In the hotel, we find a note saying that when the hotel shut down, all the employees went to climb to the mountain, while Oshiro stayed back at the hotel and presumably died there. As we covered, the mountain is a metaphor for overcoming internal struggle, which means that Oshiro has not even begun his journey of healing. He hasn't recognized he has a problem, and unfortunately, he won't be able to get the help he needs until he recognizes the problem and puts in the effort to work on himself. Madeline can't fix him. Finally, Madeline asks the grandma what's so special about the mountain, to which she responds, "The mountain shows you who you really are, whether you're ready for it or not." Faced against harsh winds, Madeline continues climbing up the mountain while enjoying the view. At the end of the long struggle, Madeline finds a gondola. Theo catches up to her and they both ride it together. I love how the little interaction between them shows their personalities. Because Madeline is the anxious one, she asks if it's safe, how high up they are, and she comments on the fact that she can't see the ground below. Theo, with his YOLO mentality, remains unbothered and is more focused on taking a selfie. Then the gondola stalls, and when Theo tries to fix the situation, he breaks the lever. Madeline's mind goes dark and she starts having a panic attack. Theo tries to help her and passes on the wisdom shared with him by his grandfather. He tells her to close her eyes and picture a feather floating in front of her. Her breathing will keep that feather floating, so breathe slow and steady, in and out. She starts to feel better, and then the gondola starts moving again until they reach stable ground. "How did we know we start moving again?" Madeline asks. "Oh, I totally thought we were done for." Then he takes out his phone and sees the selfie he took. They both laugh together, looking at their selfie, and the chapter is concluded. Chapter 5 is the Mirror Temple, and I think this is a good place to finally bring up the motif of mirrors. Throughout the game, Madeline's reflection breaks out from mirrors that she has stood in front of. Madeline's other part is an alternate reflection of herself, one that she's buried deep within her. Her other part is a literal reflection of herself, but Madeline is also forced to reflect on herself in a psychological sense. The mountain forces her to examine her own thoughts and feelings. It is forcing her to look at herself, both literally and psychologically, forcing her to confront a darkness that she has hidden deep within herself. The environment is very dark and maze-like. The path to reflection is not an easy task as she finds herself lost in this dark labyrinth. The music that plays is dark, but it's also slow and patient. Honestly, you wouldn't feel out of place in a game like Silent Hill 2. She finds a giant mirror deep within this temple, which teleports her to a very dark, unsettling place. As she gets teleported, she sees herself getting eaten by an eldritch horror. She wakes up to blaring, foreboding music and confronts her reflection. Her other part says that the mountain only magnifies what's within her mind. Madeline doesn't believe her and asks why she wants to hurt her. Her reflection says she's protecting her. She taunts her, asking her if she still thinks she can climb the mountain. Madeline says she doesn't need her help and that she'll do it alone. As Madeline pushes on, the eldritch horrors mercilessly hunt her down in each room she enters. Eventually, she finds Theo, who is somehow trapped in a crystal cage. Madeline apologizes to Theo for allowing him to see the darkest parts of herself. She blames herself for him being trapped, but Theo tries to reassure her. He says the monsters are coming from her, but the cage is his doing. Those watchful eyes and the whispers are all coming from him. Madeline sets out to find another way around to him and help him escape. She finds him once again, and there's a funny exchange of dialogue between them. Madeline picks up Theo and carries him through danger, overcoming all obstacles before throwing Theo at a giant eyeball, destroying it in the cage that imprisoned him. Just to make sure the mirror motif was not lost on the player, Chapter 6 is named Reflection, and this is where Madeline and Theo have a deep conversation around the campfire, allowing us to get to know them better. Theo talks about how Madeline reminds him so much of his sister, Alex, how she's amazing at everything, how they both live so deep inside their own heads, how Alex has an amazing internal compass, and that she'll get to where she needs to be. He sees that in Madeline too. I wish I could say the same for myself, Theo finishes. He asks her why she is so set on climbing the mountain. She says she doesn't even know why, she just needed to get out of her head. She's stuck in a cycle where her brain fixates on things from the past that she feels like she should be over by now. She doesn't really talk about her struggles, only her mom knows that she gets depressed and has panic attacks. Madeline asks Theo why he is climbing the mountain. He says he started a new job in Seattle that made him think he finally knew what he was meant to do in life. But he hated it and quit after a week and hopped on a bus to Canada to climb the mountain. He says he puts a lot of pressure on himself and he's worried he'll never figure out where he's going. Theo asks about her depression, what it's like. She says it's like being at the bottom of the ocean. It's claustrophobic, yet she feels exposed. She remembers feeling normal, but it seems out of reach now, no matter how hard she tries. She can't escape herself and is literally fighting herself the whole way through. Maybe it's all pointless. Theo reminds Madeline that she saved his life. That's not pointless. She asks him about his grandpa and if he's close to him. I was, he says. I'm sorry, Madeline responds, to which Theo replies that that's just how it is. And all he can do is try to live a meaningful life because that's what his grandpa would want. He says his grandpa taught him about this mountain, calling it special and saying that it changed his life. At the end of the long conversation, Madeline says she wants to remember this night and asks Theo to take a selfie. After this, Theo mentions that she's gonna reach the summit tomorrow and he wishes her luck. They say goodnight and drift off into sleep. I just want to take another moment to praise the dialogue and the writing in this game. I love how conversations flow so naturally between them, how they both ask each other questions, and how they ask follow-up questions about things mentioned in conversation. For example, Theo just briefly mentions his grandpa, and then Madeline asks more about him. Stuff like that is just so good because it feels realistic. It reminds me when I'm getting to know a coworker or a friend on a deeper level, and how they slowly reveal more about themselves and their past if you just talk to them and ask about their life. It's just so refreshing to see actual good writing in a video game. Not like shit-ass Metal Gear Solid. Fucking Dr. Emmerich blabbering on about his life for 10 minutes upon the first time we meet him. Because Japanese storytellers think we need to know everyone's entire backstory on the first time we meet them. The revelation that Theo's grandfather visited the mountain also adds so much depth to the importance of climbing the mountain. So far, we know Madeline, Theo, his grandfather, and the grandma have all visited the mountain for one reason or another. And that to me shows that everyone is going through their own internal struggle. Just like how Madeline doesn't share her struggles with others, there could be many people in our own lives going through their own struggles without us ever even knowing about it. I often look at people who seem very cheery and very jokey and wonder if anyone checks up on them and asks them how they're doing. I think that's why people like Theo are important in this role, because they make people feel comfortable opening up about their struggles without the fear of being judged or blamed. Theo and Madeline are also extremely relatable. The first time I played Celeste, I related more to Madeline's struggle. As a high schooler, I suffered a lot of anxious thoughts and feelings, and though I never went to therapy and got a diagnosis, I have a strong feeling that I had some form of anxiety back then. I never experienced anything close to a panic attack, but in those moments where anxiety took the better of me and sent me into a sweaty mess, it did feel extremely suffocating and difficult to get my mind off of it. There are many times that I'd escape into the bathroom, hoping no one would notice me or ask why it took so long in the bathroom, as I'd wait for the sweat to dry before feeling comfortable coming back out. It was honestly a terrible time for me, and I allowed my anxiety to take over my life, even allowing it to control me to the point I distanced myself from my cousins and other family members. However, over time, I would Google mental techniques to help with my anxiety, such as telling myself that I was okay and that this would pass. I was able to make progress, but it wasn't perfect. There were plenty of times when I thought I'd finally conquered my anxiety, only to have another anxious episode, killing my confidence. But each time I crashed, I found it easier to bounce back from them. Before, it'd take me over 10 minutes to calm myself down, and then lower to 5 minutes, 1 minute. And recently I found that I can do it in just seconds. Nowadays, I really get as anxious as I did back then, and I'm proud of the progress I've made. I think there will always be a small part of me that holds that anxiety somewhere deep within my mind, but I know that I have the ability to control myself if I ever need to. But that's why my past experiences help me relate to Madeline, and although she describes depression as suffocating and claustrophobic, I find the same to be true for anxiety. As an adult replaying the game, however, I found myself relating a lot more to Theo. Theo feels lost in this world, not knowing the path he's meant to take in life. He thinks he found the job that was meant for him, only to realize he hated it and ran away. I relate so much to Theo because it's honestly exactly how I felt for a long time. I've always held onto this belief that I could do anything I wanted, that if I wanted to become a lawyer, I could go to law school and pass the exam, that if I just wanted to settle for a 9 to 5, I could, that if I wanted to become a doctor and go to school for many years to get my PhD, I could. But even though I truly believe I could do anything, I end up doing nothing because nothing seems appealing to me. Nothing calls out my name. There's not a single career I look at and think, I could do that for the rest of my life. And even things that do seem appealing, such as being a creator of any kind, are such far-fetched paths that would most likely just end up with me being broke. So what is the path I'm meant to take? I recently opened up one of my old journals I'd written when I was in 8th or 9th grade, and I opened up to a page with me talking about potential careers I could get into as an adult. And in that journal I wrote, "But I don't know what I want to do." And when I read that, it hit me like a truck because I thought to myself, damn, it's been nearly a decade since I wrote that, and I still haven't figured out what I want to do. And I just felt sorry for myself. In the mirror temple, Theo trapped himself in a crystal cage. This crystal cage is a relatable feeling of being stuck in life, unable to move forward in any direction. You feel trapped by life, like you might never break free and find your path. Those watchful eyes and the whispers are people judging me, telling me that I should go back to school, that I should find a better job. Why are you still working here? You've got a bachelor's. Why are you still here? And just like Theo, I have a sister that every time I look at her, I know she's going to do well in life. I know she's going to end up exactly where she needs to be, that she'll find plenty of success in her future. And I honestly don't compare myself to her, but I do wish I had what she had, which is a set path forward in life. She has goals and aspirations, something that I can't really say for myself outside of a vague, oh, I'd like to own a home one day and live there with my future partner. When Madeline and Theo wrap up the conversation, a feather appears behind Madeline, which she can use to fly all the way up. Can I just say that this feather is one of the smoothest feeling mechanics I've ever felt in a video game. Like, this thing feels like magic to control. It's always such a joy, and I can't get over how satisfying it feels. She flies up and comments on the beautiful northern lights before having a chat with her reflection. Except, Madeline takes all the wrong lessons from her chat with Theo, because she still fails to accept her reflection as part of herself. Instead, she says her reflection is everything she needs to leave behind, because she's cruel, paranoid, and controlling. She tells her reflection that she's setting her free, that they'll both be happier. Her reflection refuses to be left behind and grasps Madeline with a tentacle. Madeline tries to calm down by imagining the feather, which her reflection destroys. Her reflection tells her that she can't climb this mountain and pulls her down, all the way down. We watch as Madeline falls to the bottom of the mountain for nearly 20 seconds before finally landing in water. All of our hard work, all of our progress, undone in under a minute. Madeline climbs up and finds a large, reflective crystal. It's over now, she laments to herself. I hate her. But she accepts she'll never get rid of her, and defeated, she tells herself her reflection was right. She wasn't able to climb the mountain. Further ahead, Madeline runs into the grandma again, and the grandma is honestly pretty mean at the start of the interaction, saying, "Sometimes you gotta know when to throw in the towel," in reference to Madeline giving up. Madeline says she doesn't want to give up, but her reflection is always sabotaging her. The grandma says she should talk to her, ask her why she's scared, something which Madeline never even considered. If you continue the conversation with the grandma, Madeline asks how she can stand to live here when the mountain is so confrontational. The grandma says that this mountain is a place of healing, and the first step of healing is confronting the problem. Soon after, Madeline runs into her reflection and apologizes to her. She says there's no need to fight, that they're already at rock bottom. Her reflection replies that she can keep digging, that she can drag them down to the center of the earth. Madeline says they can climb out of here together, but her reflection refuses, leading to one of the most fun boss fights I've experienced in any game, especially a 2D platformer. At the end, her reflection gives up and tells Madeline that if she wants her to go away, she'll try. Madeline says that's not what she wants to work together. She comes close and hugs her reflection, an act that shows her finally embracing and accepting herself, even her deepest flaws. Madeline and her reflection fuse together, allowing Madeline to become a stronger version of herself. She continues talking to herself, telling her that it's okay to be scared, but that this is what she wants to do, and so they need to give it at least one more try. Chapter 7, The Summit, is an amazing end to the game. Madeline, now using her double dash, quickly travels up across the mountain. The difficulty has increased, but it feels extremely doable the whole time through. Eventually, she reaches the Forsaken City once again, quickly making her way through, revisiting the places she had climbed before. Before you know it, you were just a couple of meters away from the peak of the mountain. There's never an easy moment, but we remain persistent, and finally, after all the struggle, we reach the top of the mountain and enjoy the beautiful view in front of us. This entire section is a masterpiece. Gameplay-wise, anyone who has ever played through this game knows just how amazing this final sequence is, but it's also a masterpiece in terms of how it expands on its themes of mental health struggles. The path to healing is never a straightforward path. Like I said when I was talking about my anxiety, there are many times I felt that I had made so much progress, many times where I felt like I had finally overcome my anxiety or left it behind, just for me to have a horrible experience with it that made me feel like I crashed back down and had made zero progress. But in retrospect, I know that's not true. I did make progress. Madeline falling down to the bottom of the mountain does not negate the fact that she had already climbed the majority of the mountain. She's not the same person she was when she first arrived at the mountain. She is someone who has already made the climb, and she can do it again. And I like how quickly we retread the path we've taken before. Every time you fall back down, because you most likely will crash down more than once, you'll also have an easier time climbing back up because you've already done it before. So what's one more time? That, to me, is the true beauty of Celeste. It's an honest game about overcoming our internal struggles. The path forward is rarely easy, and many times you'll enter dark and terrifying places, but it's also a journey worth going on, where you can find and discover a lot of beauty. And this is a game that gives us hope that something beautiful is awaiting us at the end of it all. This probably won't be the last time Madeline visits the mountain, but when she does revisit it, she'll know that she is capable of making the climb all over again, and she'll make it as long as she remains persistent. Thank you for watching this video. I just wanted to briefly mention that theory that Madeline is a trans character and that Celeste is a game about the trans journey. I do think there's a strong argument for this case, such as how when Madeline talks to herself in chapter 7 while flying up, The colors in the background are the same colors as the ones on the trans pride flag. However, I did not bring up anything about the trans journey. Firstly, because I'm not trans and I feel like I wouldn't be able to speak on that experience with the respect it deserves. Also because I believe Celeste Mountain represents all kinds of eternal struggle. Celeste Mountain is anxiety, it's depression, it's also about feeling directionless, it's also about the trans journey, it's also about addiction, it's about anything. There's a reason why the game allows you to change your name at the start of the game. This isn't just Madeline's journey, it can also be about your journey and confronting your internal struggle. Anyways, that's all I have to say on that matter. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe and hit the bell and all that yada yada stuff you supers have to say. I appreciate you so much. Again, thank you. And take care of yourselves and your loved ones.